Hello everyone and welcome to another Total War Warhammer online commentary. In this game I'm going to be playing the Warriors of Chaos led by the mighty Prince Sigvald. And guys, we're going to be facing off against the Empire led by the Toadbringer himself. So let's jump right into this game and take a look at some of the army compositions and we can go from there. So in the front line I actually have a pretty diverse composition. I have some Chaos Marauders on the outside which actually, as far as infantry go are pretty quick. They have 35 move speed and of course they're not going to be a great centerpiece unit, so I tend to put them more towards the flanks. Because in the flanks of army you're generally going to deal with spears and halberds and weaker combat infantry. I do also have some Chaos Warriors with great weapons to help out against great swords, and then in the center I do have the Mirror Guard. So the Mirror Guard are Sigvald's personal bodyguard, but they're also the Regiment of Renown of Chaos Warriors. And I was a little bit on the fence about them in the beginning. I just felt underwhelmed. They didn't have any really cool attributes, but when you look at them, they just have really good stats. 45 melee attack, 56 melee defense, but more importantly, they're immune to psychology. So the Empire, isn't the most terrifying faction per se. I mean, they do have a General of the Empire and, Karl Franz and Boris Todbringer and these guys that cause fear and terror, but, sometimes they'll dive in the front line, and as Chaos, I've had, mass terror routing issues before, because Chosen and Chaos Warriors are not immune to psychology, so having these guys in the center really helps you hold up. On top of that, I do have two groups of Forsaken on the flank. So I have the Demon Spew here, which is the Regiment Renown of Forsaken, and for those of you guys that haven't seen these, they are extremely powerful. They have a better melee attack and higher melee defense, quite a bit more actually. I think the standard Forsaken have 18. But poison on a mobile infantry unit like this is incredibly strong. They do also have Swarm of Flies, so just so many tools. And they did get that nerf in the Norsca hotfix where they had a cost increase, but probably definitely justified. They're very, very good. On top of that, Prince Sigvald. Sigvald, in my opinion, is one of the best choices against the Empire because the Empire, the Wood Elves kind of have that same thing, but they're very good at isolating high-value targets. They have Nets of Amnitok, they have Demogryph Knights, who are essentially specialists at taking out big, high-value targets. So I definitely think it's a good idea to go wide. Chaos Hounds with the Swords of Chaos and regular Chaos Knights on the back, and one more group of Hounds on the far side. So you really need to pressure the flanks of the Empire. If you just let their guns and other troops like that in the back just, kind of have free range, you're going to be in some rough trouble, that's for sure. So in the front, they got some swordsmen here, which are just kind of fodder units. They're going to be flanked, well, not flanked, but reared by some halberds mixed in with some swordsmen, it looks like. But yeah, not a lot of armor piercing, so that's definitely going to be one of the troubles. But he also appears to be going pretty wide because swordsmen are a very cheap unit, and they don't have the worst combat stats. People look at swordsmen, and they're like, oh, they're kind of like miners. But no, they're actually not. They have 32 melee attack and 32 melee defense, which is not bad at all. But still, they're going to lack the AP. In the back, he has his handgunners as well as a cannon, which does have silver chevron, so he's definitely going to be looking to, get his AP value from there. In the back, he's got some spears to just, prevent hounds, two groups of Knights of the Blazing Sun, and he does have the Toadbringer. So Toadbringer, obviously a very, very good lord in my opinion. And it looks like he was being a gentleman. He did bring the Dwellers Below. He does have Flesh to Stone, which is going to give armor to his front line. So I think if you overcast this, it hits multiple targets, but he's probably going to be casting it on his swordsmen or his Knights of the Blazing Sun. Well, they already have a lot of armor, so maybe not them, but maybe some of his frontline troops to make them a little bit more durable. But yeah, pretty cool army composition, definitely a very wide one, and it's pretty tough. If you go narrow against Chaos, they can really kind of overwhelm and zerg your flanks, and then you start having all those leadership penalties of things attacking you from the rear. It can get pretty ugly, but as far as this fight goes, over here my Chaos Hounds are coming up and around the flank, but you can see my opponent is very, very aware. He has his Knights right here, Knights of the Blazing Sun and Boris Todbringer, so I send these Hounds out, and I wanted to run them over here and see if he would overchase, which would allow me to collapse, but you can see he was getting some good cannon fire on my Chaos Knights already, so they're pretty tattered, but right now Boris is landing because he's actually running all angrily after these Hounds, and the Knights of the Blazing Sun are charging, but I'm just I was rapidly clicking, just swarm clicking over here on the far side, trying to get this engagement as I wanted it. So my Chaos Knights are going to engage right here, and the Warhounds are coming back in right now, and I thought about bringing the Forsaken in, but I decided to just kind of send them over here and collapse on the flank and just kind of sacrifice this fight over here. So my opponent does pop a Flesh to Stone, giving them 160 armor. My Hounds are coming into the flank, so I'm definitely losing this fight very, very heavily. But the main fight is underway. You can see I'm going to overcast the final transmutation. So I did take some heavy damage here, but he's going to take a beating from that final transmutation, which is going to be good. And these Forsaken are able to kind of swarm around the flanks, and you can see these Chaos Marauders slamming into these Spearmen right here. And Chaos Marauders are going to do very, very well against, well, these are actually halberds, so it's going to be a little bit different. But regardless, you can see my Forsaken are going to be pushing in on some of these handgunners in the back, so hopefully they can generate some pretty good value. And you can also see some of my Hounds do slip through, and he was chasing with his Knights of the Blazing Sun, but I am going to get in here, which is going to be nice. And the Forsaken have gotten into the chicken coop, so it's definitely going to be very, very rough for the state troops to try and hold here. And the Forsaken have a massive charge bonus and are definitely very good shock infantry versus these type of guys. Nonetheless, they're not completely undefended. He does have some Knights of the Blazing Sun over here, but my Demon Spew are able to get around the flank as well, and are going to really start cutting up these handgunners. The frontline fight's going pretty well, but he did actually have some halberds in the center, and they're holding really well. I mean, they were fighting against the Mirror Guard, Sigvald, as well as the Swords of Chaos themselves, and they were able to just hold forever. So it looks like the front line here was kind of pushed back, and my Chaos Infantry are marching through, and that is a pretty cool sight, seeing all those Swords of Chaos. That guy just getting whacked, as well as these great weapons pushing back. So his line was pretty heavily compromised here. Granted, he still does have the Knights of the Blazing Sun right here, and on the far side, he did win this battle. So my Chaos Knights as well as my Chaos Poison Warhounds were indeed pushed off. So I'm having to retreat a little bit with my Chaos Sorcerer here, but we did some good damage. You can see the Knights of the Blazing Sun took some work, and Boris took quite a bit of HP damage, but he still does have that self-regeneration, so he's not in bad shape at all. But in the front, relatively even fight for the most part, but it looks like the Chaos Infantry are pushing them back. The Halberds here have collapsed to the Mirror Guard, and Mirror Guard are obviously very, very elite combatants, but he does still have these Knights of the Blazing Sun who are kind of cleaning up some of my troops that got through. So what happened was a lot of my, Forsaken got through and did some good shock damage, but then my opponent was able to clean them up with the Knights of the Blazing Sun. So he's got Boris Todbringer back in the fight now as well. So Boris is definitely a superior combatant to Sigvald and has a lot more impact. So you can see he's trying to go after him right now, but this is why Sigvald is a good pick. Had this been Archaon or other lords like this, they probably would have taken some more damage earlier in the fight, but Sigvald with that regeneration and pretty high defensive stats with 60 melee defense, it's going to be pretty sturdy. So my opponent is going to be casting Flesh to Stone, which is going to give him 145 armor, and then he also does have the Knights of the Blazing Sun doing a little bit of a crusade charge in here, hitting some of my Forsaken, so very, very well played by my opponent. This is something you have to really watch out for against the Empire guys, is often you will kill their handgunners, you're going to be feeling good, you're like, alright, the fight's close, but I have it in the bag. But the handgunners come back, so that was a little bit of a mistake. I should have sent some Marauders or some Forsaken to just polish these guys off, because the fact that they're coming back now is going to be pretty rough. But now I have a pretty good central pocket. You can see I have a very, very big infantry blob. The Swords of Chaos are coming back in to kind of start zerging, and even though they're an anti-infantry unit, they're going to just outclass these Knights of the Blazing Sun. I mean, they have outstanding stats. 53 and 59 compared to 32 and 22. I think they were poisoned there, so it wasn't really an accurate assessment. But nonetheless, they're doing pretty well. Some of my Marauders on the far side are chasing off some of the Knights of the Blazing Sun, and though Great Weapons aren't necessarily an anti-large unit, they have pretty good AP value, so they should be able to deal with the Knights of the Blazing Sun. So ultimately, we were able to get the Forsaken around the flanks, really get in the army, and though we did lose the calf fight, we were able to kind of hold them over there long enough using those poison hounds. And that other group of hounds, even though the Knights of the Blazing Sun were really on top of them when we were chasing them and everything, we were able to squeeze through a little bit of a crack, and all you need to do is shut down those guns for just a second. But you can see the reason why you always want to finish off the Empire guns is because they're going to come back and hit pretty hard, and in a close battle like this, it can really turn the tide if it was if it was just a little bit closer, and the balance of power was maybe like right in this area where I'm mousing right now. It could easily turn the tide, the fact that I had left these guys alone. But the Swords of Chaos definitely going to get in there with a little bit of a hard on, chase those guys down, and have some fun. So they've racked up 96 kills, which is pretty insane for like how small. A little bit of Last Samurai action going on. But you can see these guys are not going to be long for these Earth. Though they do have Boris Todbringer. He's up in the skies. He's in pretty good health, so he's going to come down here and probably help out against some of these guys. And if anything, he's going to be good against the Swords of Chaos. But he's very tattered himself. So at this point, you can see the Empire forces are shattered for the most part, and it looks like he's going to start suffering some army losses. I mean, a few things that definitely would have been helpful. I think obviously the the Dweller's Blow is very, very good against Chaos, because Chaos does, even though I did go wide, I still had some very high value pockets of infantry. Like I had the Mirror Guard, Sigvald, and the Swords of Chaos all stacked on top of each other, so having that AoE there would have been pretty good. Granted, it's probably going to get hotfixed or changed in the near future, so I don't see getting too used to it. But still, as far as the army composition goes, I definitely like the idea of going wide. I definitely think the Swordsman really struggled. I mean, his entire front line kind of got collapsed in every way. The areas that I was able to hold was with the Halberds. So maybe mix in a few Halberds, and then maybe throw in 1 or 2 units of Greatswords and support them with Lore of Life, and I think they could have done pretty well for themselves. Nonetheless, Knights of the Blazing Sun, they're not bad. I mean, they have really good shock stats, great charge bonus, and really high attack values, or weapon strength, I should say. But Demogorgon Knights, I think, are definitely the way to go against Chaos. With the anti-large and armor piercing, they trade very well with Chaos Knights, and they also really benefit from Lore of Life, because each of their models, considering they only come with 16 to 18 models, has a high HP pool. Hence, you can get more value out of Earthblood and different things like that. But still, I like the idea of the army going wide. The handgunner is very, very strong. Granted, we were able to get in there, like I said, and do some good damage. But very well played to my opponent, Hoosier General. Look forward to seeing you again on ladder. And hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed that Chaos game, and let me know if you guys want to see some Hellcannon action or any other regiments renowned you'd like to see me play with, and I will gladly oblige. So thanks again for watching, guys. Have an excellent night, and take care.